with new headlines in the US about this bombshell new court battle taking place next month. Just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle, because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere. $75,000 lawsuit after the 44-year-old told Winfrey that she grew up as an only child during her and Prince Harry's bombshell March 2020.
Meghan Markle's carefully crafted public image is about to face its biggest test yet. What began as a passing rumor has exploded into a full-blown legal earthquake, one that could drag the Duchess of Sussex into a courtroom battle she can't control. Her half-sister, Samantha Markle, isn't backing down. She's suing Meghan for $75,000, claiming the Duchess deliberately destroyed her reputation on a global stage. It all traces back to the Oprah interview and, later, Meghan's Netflix series, moments that Samantha's lawyers say weren't just storytelling, but a calculated attack. At first, this case seemed dead in the water. A judge dismissed Samantha's original claim in 2023, ruling Meghan's words were just opinions. Case closed. Or so everyone thought. But Samantha's legal team treated that dismissal like a roadmap. They studied every flaw, every loophole, and came back sharper, stronger, and more dangerous. Now, a hearing is set for September 9th in Jacksonville, Florida. And this time the stakes are sky high. The heart of Samantha's argument? Intent. She claims Meghan didn't simply share her truth, she engineered it, fully aware of how damaging it would be. Every polished Netflix scene, every emotional soundbite, every carefully chosen narrative thread is being framed as a weaponized story, designed to paint Samantha as the villain. This is where things get messy. Discovery, the brutal stage of litigation, is looming. That means Meghan's emails, texts, and even behind-the-scenes production notes could be dragged into court. If Samantha's team uncovers proof that Meghan rehearsed, revised, or coordinated how her family was portrayed, the Duchess's "just sharing my experience" defense could collapse overnight, and Samantha isn't coming empty-handed. Insiders claim her lawyers have compiled a mountain of evidence: internal communications, therapy records, even psychiatric evaluations tying Meghan's words to Samantha's mental health struggles. They're also drawing a straight line between Meghan's interviews and the harassment Samantha says she suffered afterwards: death threats, stalking, and online abuse fueled by loyal Sussex fans. If the court buys this argument, it could set a precedent far beyond this family feud. Celebrities everywhere might no longer be able to hide behind the phrase, "my truth," when their words spark real-world harm. For Meghan, the danger isn't just financial. It's reputational. Her entire brand, compassionate, empathetic, victim of royal cruelty, could be flipped on its head. Suddenly, the Duchess isn't the underdog. She's the bully, and once that label sticks, there's no escaping it. The trial hasn't even begun, but already Meghan Markle faces a nightmare scenario. Lose this case and she doesn't just risk damages. She risks losing control of her story forever. It started like a whisper, barely worth a headline. A passing lawsuit that most thought would vanish overnight. After all, how could Meghan Markle, one of the most media-savvy women alive, possibly be threatened by her estranged half-sister? But whispers grow louder, and this one is now a storm barreling straight toward Meghan's carefully built empire. Samantha Markle is no longer just the forgotten sibling in the shadow of the Duchess. She's walking into federal court in Florida, armed with a lawsuit that cuts to the core of Meghan's public image. Her claim? That Meghan didn't just tell her truth in front of Oprah or in her Netflix series, she weaponized it. Every word, every scene, every tear, Samantha says, was part of a calculated effort to erase her and destroy her reputation. This isn't about sibling rivalry anymore. This is about intent, and intent changes everything. When Samantha first took Meghan to court, the case was dismissed. Judges said Meghan's statements were opinions, not defamation. Most assumed that was the end of it. But Samantha's lawyers weren't defeated, they were learning. They treated that dismissal like a blueprint, rewriting their strategy point by point. Now they're coming back smarter, sharper, and far more dangerous. A new hearing is officially scheduled for September 9th in Jacksonville, Florida. This time, Meghan won't just be defending her words, she may be forced to defend her intent. For Meghan, the biggest threat isn't Oprah, it's Netflix. Unlike a spontaneous interview, the 6-part series was a polished production. Months of planning, editing, and narrative control. Samantha's lawyers call it a weaponized documentary, a global campaign that reached 200 million homes. Their argument? That Meghan had every opportunity to rethink her words. To edit, to cut, to soften, but she didn't. She doubled down. Samantha's case doesn't stop at reputational damage. She claims Meghan's narrative unleashed something darker, a wave of harassment that nearly destroyed her life. Death threats. Online abuse. Stalkers showing up near her home. Her lawyers call it influencer harassment. The idea that when a figure as powerful as Meghan paints you as unstable, millions of fans take it as a call to action. They argue Meghan knew this would happen, that she lit the match, then stepped back as the fire spread. But Samantha's team isn't relying on sympathy alone. They've lined up mental health experts, therapy records, and prescriptions. A documented paper trail of PTSD, anxiety, and depression that they link directly to Meghan's public comments. These aren't vague claims. They're diagnoses. And if a judge accepts them, Meghan could be facing something she never imagined, being held legally responsible for the mental collapse of her own sister. Here's where it gets truly dangerous. The case has entered the stage of discovery, the legal process where both sides must turn over evidence. Emails, texts, draft scripts, internal production notes. Imagine if Samantha's lawyers uncover proof that Meghan rehearsed her estranged sister narrative with her team, that she strategized how Samantha would appear in the series. Those receipts could blow Meghan's defense wide open. And Meghan's greatest fear? A deposition. She's brilliant in carefully controlled interviews. But under oath, under cross-examination, there are no retakes. Meghan's defense so far has leaned on her polished image. That Samantha was already estranged, that her comments were harmless, that it was all free speech. But image management doesn't work in a courtroom. Judges don't care about PR spin. They care about evidence. And Samantha's lawyers claim they have plenty. Family photos, holiday cards, records that show Meghan wasn't as distant as she claimed. A paper trail of contradiction. If Samantha wins, the fallout goes far beyond money. Meghan could face millions in damages, yes, but worse is the reputational hit. The Duchess has built her brand on compassion, empathy, and truth. If a court rules she deliberately smeared her own sister, that brand collapses. Overnight, Meghan goes from victim to villain, from silenced Duchess to accused bully, and once that label sticks, it never washes off. But here's the twist. This case isn't just about the Markles. It could rewrite the rules for every celebrity. If the court accepts that a documentary or interview can be weaponized, then no star is safe hiding behind my truth. It means accountability. It means intent matters. And it means every word a public figure speaks could be measured in court, not just in clicks. For Meghan, this isn't just a family feud. It's a legal minefield that could define her legacy. So here's the question hanging over the September hearing. Will the court see Meghan Markle as a woman bravely telling her story? Or as a duchess who turned her fame into a weapon against her own family? The answer could change everything. But critics say that strategy might not survive the courtroom spotlight. These articles said Samantha's bashing her sister. I wasn't bashing her just because I was out there defending our father. I was out there saying, pointing out which articles were not true. For starters, Meghan has leaned heavily on the idea that Samantha was already estranged, that their relationship was fractured long before she spoke publicly. But Samantha's lawyers are poking holes in that narrative. They've dug up family photos, phone records, and even holiday cards that suggest Meghan wasn't quite as distant as she made herself out to be. She didn't get grants or scholarships. She didn't work for the embassy. I was pointing out the lies, and I've never been out there slinging mud like some trolls in social media. Meghan's defense has been accused of being too Hollywood polished. Instead of hard legal arguments, it's been heavy on image management. Rumors swirl that her lawyers are more concerned with how Meghan looks to the public than how strong her case actually is. That might work on Netflix, but in a Florida courtroom, not so much. Saying things that weren't true about her personal life. I stuck to scope. I was out there defending the truth. I was out there pointing out what were lies about our family. Court insiders say Meghan's team is also fighting tooth and nail to limit what evidence comes in. They want to keep discovery narrow, keep Meghan's emails sealed, and avoid putting her under oath. Why? Because a deposition could be devastating. Meghan thrives in controlled interviews, but under cross-examination, that's a different story. Seemingly wanted to silence that bad boy fast. It's like, so the bigger issue, the more Meghan's defense tries to silence evidence, the guiltier it makes her look. In a lawsuit built on truth and lies, that's the worst position to be in. Deflect and silence someone is to assassinate their character and throw dirt on them, so anytime they talk, people won't believe them. I think that was the goal. That's exactly what happened to me. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just a family feud anymore. It's a battle that could reshape Meghan Markle's entire future. With new headlines in the US about this bombshell new court battle taking place next month, just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere. $75,000 lawsuit after the 44-year-old told Winfrey that she grew up as an only child during her and Prince Harry's bombshell March 2020. Meghan thought she buried her sister's voice. Now Samantha's dragging her into court with receipts. Is gearing up for yet another legal bout with her half-sister Samantha Markle. The Post can confirm the Duchess of Sussex emerged victorious in early 2023. It started like a whisper, a tiny rumor barely worth a second glance in the tabloids. But now it's a full-blown legal earthquake and Meghan Markle is smack in the middle of it. The Duchess of Sussex, who spent years carefully crafting her public image, suddenly has a challenger she didn't expect. Her half-sister, Samantha Markle, federal court in Florida for allegedly making demonstrably false and malicious statements about her to a world audience. The first time Samantha Markle took Meghan to court, most people assumed it was over before it even started. Judges quickly dismissed the defamation claim, saying Meghan's statements were opinions and not legally actionable. Case closed, or so it seemed. However, documents obtained by the Post show that the hearing will now take place on September the 9th in Jacksonville, Florida. But for Samantha's legal team, that dismissal wasn't a defeat. It was a roadmap. Every flaw, every legal loophole, every misstep in the original filing became a blueprint for a comeback. And now Samantha is striking back smarter, sharper, and far more strategically than anyone imagined. Prior to her 2023 filing, Sam had previously filed her legal lawsuit against Meghan in late 2022, 2 years after the Sussexes quit royal life. This time, the appeal isn't about hurt feelings or emotional storytelling. It's about intent. Samantha's lawyers are arguing that Meghan didn't just speak her truth. She carefully crafted it, knowing the damage it could cause to her half-sister's reputation. This is a legal pivot so brutal it transforms a family dispute into a courtroom chess match. Markle has been left lied that Sam just won't go away. The argument is simple but powerful. Meghan's words weren't accidental. They weren't impulsive, they were deliberate. By shifting the focus to intent, Samantha's team is forcing the court to examine not just what was said. Horrible things were said about me that weren't true. And even though it's not defamation, item by item, all things taken together. But why it was said for Meghan, this is a nightmare scenario. Her defense of "I'm just sharing my story" suddenly feels weak. If the court buys Samantha's framing, every carefully produced interview, every Netflix episode, every emotional plea could be scrutinized as a calculated attack. She had executive control. The game changed the moment Meghan's Netflix series hit screens worldwide. Unlike a quick emotional interview, this wasn't a spontaneous confession. It was a polished 6-episode production carefully edited and fine-tuned over months. And Samantha Markle's legal team is calling it what it is, a weaponized narrative, cited violence against me. It hurt it was a character assassination and damaging to me in a lot of ways. And so I don't, it's not like she came out and publicly said things. Every scene, every musical cue, every dramatic pause is now under scrutiny. Samantha's lawyers argue that the documentary wasn't just about Meghan sharing her story. It was a calculated effort to shape public perception, placing Samantha in the villain's seat. Come out and publicly say things, as a royal and with her PR. And what made the series devastating to Samantha wasn't the content alone. It was the global reach, translated into dozens of languages and streamed into over 200 million homes. The series amplified the alleged damage exponentially. Put that out for her. And in my opinion, that doesn't make her any less culpable. So there was a lot of damage done to me. It was fake news PR. Insiders say the legal argument is clear. This wasn't a casual recounting of events. This was a campaign, a meticulously designed storyline intended to cast Meghan as the victim and Samantha as the antagonist. And because it was produced over months, the team argues Meghan had time to reconsider, revise, or retract, but she didn't. People have said to me, Samantha, well, how is it fake news about you? Now, What was once just a family argument has become a legal nightmare with international consequences. If the court sides with Samantha, the Netflix series could be considered more than entertainment. It could be evidence of deliberate harm. Here's the difference. I don't have the power to pay a PR house and television shows and magazines to put out articles about her. I don't have the power to. For Meghan, the implications are staggering. Her media mastery, which once earned admiration, could now be used against her. Every frame, every scene, every carefully crafted emotional moment might be proof that her storytelling wasn't just emotional, it was intentional, and Samantha Markle is ready to make the world see it. The power to combat the articles that are false, that are put out there about me and about my dad. She does, and so there's no one on this planet. Samantha Markle isn't relying on rumors or emotional appeals. Her legal team has spent months gathering what insiders are calling a mountain of evidence that could seriously threaten Meghan Markle's defense. That the articles that go out about family aren't directed by her or approved by her. We're talking emails, text messages, internal communications, production notes, and even recordings that suggest Meghan and her team may have planned how certain family members would be portrayed. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every draft of the Netflix script could be used to argue that this wasn't just storytelling. It was deliberate character assassination. I do not. And that's the difference. So, small towns in Poland, remember that fake article that said Samantha's on a fixated persons list? Legal experts say this is where the case becomes dangerous for Meghan. Previously, she could rely on the argument that she was simply sharing her truth. But if Samantha's team proves premeditation, it could turn protected opinion into actionable defamation. That means every carefully edited scene, every heartfelt confession could be scrutinized as part of a calculated effort to harm her half-sister's reputation. Fixated persons list. I got proof from Scotland Yard and Met Police that never existed. Sources close to the case reveal that the team is also compiling records from public appearances, social media posts, and PR campaigns. The goal is to show a consistent pattern that Meghan knew how her words would land, and she used her global platform to maximize the damage. And there's an article out there that said that was at the behest of her protection officer, who allegedly went to Royal Roya and put that fake article out there. For Meghan, this is more than inconvenient. It's a potential legal minefield. What once felt like media savvy could now be interpreted as weaponized influence. The Sunday Times, I'm a mental health counselor. So if everyone in the world is making me look like Patricia Hers, wouldn't that be injurious, not only to my professional, but my personal life? And with Samantha Markle sitting on what could be explosive evidence, the Duchess may be facing her toughest courtroom challenge yet. The story that seemed under control is now teetering on the edge of full-blown legal disaster. That I saw small towns in Poland. I saw people around the world saying, even Fox News erroneously said Meghan Markle's sister has landed herself on a fixated persons list. Nobody did their homework. Nobody contacted Scotland. This case isn't just about words on a screen or sound bites in an interview. According to Samantha Markle's legal team, Meghan's public comments sparked something far more sinister. A wave of harassment that flipped Samantha's life upside down. Here's proof. You were never in their computer. There's not a fixated persons list. That you're not even there. This is not true. And I did a live interview. At the moment Meghan's interviews and Netflix series aired, Samantha allegedly became the target of vicious online attacks. Not a handful of trolls, hundreds of death threats, relentless stalking, and coordinated smear campaigns that made her day-to-day life unbearable. That led her to Daily Mail TV, but why is it that nobody in the world printed that to exonerate me? Because it doesn't get the quarter-hour share ratings. It's not, sources close to the case claim it went beyond digital hate. There were incidents of doxing, people showing up near her home, and constant intimidation that forced her to live in fear. So everyone around the world thought I was on a fixated persons list. Not true. Her lawyers are drawing a straight line between Meghan's statements and the harassment that followed. They're calling it influencer harassment. The idea that when someone with Meghan's massive reach paints another person in a negative light, an army of loyal fans takes it as a call to action. Samantha's team argues that Meghan knew this would happen. But, I can't go back to 2018 and sue, and by the time I figured out what was going on, I had almost that by portraying her half-sister as toxic or unstable. She essentially opened the door for her fan base to unleash chaos. But, I can't go back to 2018 and sue, and by the time I figured out what was going on, if the court accepts this framing, It could set a precedent that rattles celebrity culture. No longer could stars hide behind the excuse of just sharing my truth if they're